All right, hey guys, Jason here. Today we're going to talk about my world that I live in, and I'm going to tell you what you're looking for if you were somebody that's looking for the stuff in my world. And that would be what makes a good swamp truck. What makes a good swamp vehicle for you to have, and things that you should be looking for. Why do I say that? Because I spend 200 to 300 miles a week in the swamps. That's what I do. You guys see me here on this YouTube channel. I also have 2 other YouTube channels. I hunt for a living. I'm actually dressed because I am getting ready to go hunting here as soon as I make these couple of videos. I have everything set. I hunt year round. I have my bow right there. My bow's in here, my pack's in here, everything I got is ready to roll, and we are going hunting. I have my cooler in the back end. It is fully set. And, oh, good point. I got to turn it on. Good call. I did not plug it in yet. We have to plug this dude in right now, as a matter of fact. So we got cold drinks while we're out there. Plugged in and good, and we are on, and we are fired up. Perfect. Good. But this is what I do for a living, okay, is hunt in the swamps. This thing is in here. It's the reason I own this. It's the reason I got rid of my Tacoma quickly, is because the Tacoma couldn't cut it. No offense to it, it's a great truck, but what is it you're looking for in a swamp type truck if you are gonna be somewhere and you're gonna deal with that stuff all the time? Remember, there's vehicles that are made for rock crawling. It's like a Rubicon. There are vehicles made for more of your happy medium fun stuff, like the Willys. And for 2024 and up, they got the rear locker off-road plus, and they're a fantastic feature here. This one of these was on, this one's on 35s right here with the factory 35 package. Great truck, great setup, and very well done. And then you got another Rubicon right here, same kind of thing. Rubicon's a fantastic version. And then we also have a Mojave. If we look at a Mojave over here, we have a Mojave that is a desert runner style, made more for off-road, fast-going bump compliance, things like that right here in a Mojave. So they make something for everybody. Every brand does. They got something for everyone. Look at that nice folding tri-top tonneau cover that they got on there. It's nice. But this one here, designed, you got the suspension here, right here, which has remote reservoir shocks up there. That's the remote resi for that, and set up and designed more bolstering in the seats. Even the steering wheel's different to give you that bump compliance and that handle the off-roadness. And then you have the beast right here, 392. Look at them. You got a 392 here, a 392 there, and another 392 in anvil right over there. But kind of the best of all worlds kind of thing here. So what is it that is required for a swamper? Okay, if all these brands make vehicles that are specifically different, what one rates best for a swamper? Well, here's the thing. When you are looking for a swamp vehicle, there are a couple things that matter. One of them is traction. Okay, traction is vital. When you are in the mud, it's very, very slippery, and you often gotta do a lot of chewing. Okay, sometimes when you get in these holes, it's a matter of spinning the wheels fast enough where they can chew a bite, throw the mud out, chew another bite, throw the mud out, chew another bite to climb yourself out of there. Traction is vitally important. So a Rubicon, or something with a front locker so you can actually turn a 4-wheel drive vehicle into a 4-wheel drive vehicle, crucial. Okay, if you look at this and we look at a standard Jeep right here, what do we got right here? What is this? This is just a Sport. So if we take a Sport right here like this, okay, great vehicle, and Jeep has amazing algorithmically controlled traction control, and they do a good job, but realistically, this is a 1-wheel drive when it's stuck in 2-wheel drive. If you put this in 4-wheel drive and you get it stuck, it only has 2 working wheels. Okay, I'm not getting into logistics. I've talked about it in many videos. Somebody's gonna argue and say it's not true. Torque transfer, no, listen to me. When you're stuck, or when you're struggling, a 4-wheel drive vehicle today with open differentials, such as this has on the front and rear, is 2 working wheels when you're in trouble. 2 working wheels in trouble, all right? Understand that. When it's in 4-wheel drive, 2 working wheels. A Willys, okay, Willys, okay, and we'll get some comments like this, we do in every one of them, but if you think it's Willys, or you think it's actually Willys, look it up, okay, just look it up. But the reality here is we get a rear locker, so we have an open differential in the front, and we have a rear locking differential, so we get 3 wheels here. 2 wheels in 4-wheel drive here, 3 wheels in 4-wheel drive here. When you get to a Rubicon, here's that other 392, you get locking front, locking rears, and now you have 4 wheels working for you. Okay, so in the swamps, Lockers are important. I use my lockers weekly. There is not a week since I've owned this Rubicon that has gone by that I have not used both my front and rear lockers. Not 1 week has gone by. And there are sometimes, especially after heavy rains in the spring and things like that, when we get a lot of flooding, there is times that I will use that lock. I'll use both my front and rear locker a solid 24 times a week. So yes, they are vitally important. Do I use them to get me unstuck? No. I use them to prevent me from getting stuck. So were they necessary? Yes, because they made sure that I didn't get stuck. Could I have got through it without them? Maybe. Wasn't willing to risk it. Not worth my time and energy. I got more important things to do than play games. So for me, front and rear lockers are vital. Rubicon offers that. We do hear people say all the time in the comments, well, my Mojave will do 99% of what Rubicon will do. Yeah, you know what? It's going to do pretty dang good, and maybe you're right in a lot of situations in a swamp. No, it will not. I'm not taking anything away from the Mojave. I love the Mojave. I would rather have a Mojave if you put the front locker in. I could even give up the sway bar disconnect. I don't care about that. I'm on flat ground mostly. I don't care about the sway bar disconnect. But the front locker for me is crucial. Crucial for a swamp truck, in my opinion. Your mileage may vary, when I'm not knocking whatever you have. Just saying, very important. Another thing, vitally important, mud terrains. Mud terrain tires, incredibly important. These Falcon MTs, one of the best, fantastic. I do not have them on mine. Notice on mine I have ATs, Wild Peak ATs, Falcon Wild Peak ATs. I cannot run mud terrains. The reason for it is because where I hunt, in the places I hunt, where I hunt for a living, they are often 1 to 3 hours one way away. And I am very common somebody who will get up at 4 in the morning, drive 3 hours, hunt the entire day, and drive 3 hours back and get back at 2 in the morning. Okay, I do that stuff constantly. So I put 40,000 miles a year on a vehicle. I need tires that are gonna hold up. I have to find a happy medium. If I ran a mud tire like this on mine, even though it would be one of the smartest things I could do, I would go through 2 sets of these a year. I cannot afford to do that. So I would love it, but I cannot afford to. If you are driving a vehicle without a front locker, these will be one of your best investments you could possibly do. One of the best investments you could possibly do in a swamp for anything anyway. But again, I have to make a balance in there on how many miles I got to drive to get to those places. Next one is water fording capabilities. Here we got 2 Willys right here. Okay, this one you can see is a standard Willys, okay, with 32s. This is your standard Willys Wrangler here. Here's the same thing with the 35 package, which you can see on here. That includes re-gearing and all that stuff. What do they charge you for it? It's going to be on here. They charge you $4,500 for that Extreme 35 package on here. But what it does now is it gives you a vehicle lift. It gives you 35-inch tires, which equals to a lot more ground clearance. If these are 32s and these are 35s, that's 3 inches. You divide that in half because only half of your tire is above the axle line, okay? So if this is 33, this is 35, but to go to a 35 is not going up 3 or 2 inches more. This 32, going up to a 35 is not 3 more inches higher. It is overall, but realistically, it only lifts the Jeep because of where this is. Only 1.5 inches of that is above or below this, which is where your lift comes from. So by going from a 32 to a 35, you're going to jump up 1.5 inches of ground clearance, plus the lift that they put on this to make that happen of another inch or whatever we got on here in spring rate in there for lifts to get that lift in there is going to give you a little more. So now you're gaining 2.5 inches of lift of height off of this. When you look at the rock rails on this thing, look at the height difference in the rock rails, how much higher up these are. 2.5 inches or so higher. That gets all of the electronics of this vehicle. Every electrical connection and thing like that is now lifted up higher. Where on this one, your water depth fording capability is right at 35 inches on this standard. So you're looking at about right here is where water fording depth is of this vehicle. Where on here now, because of that, we move that up where it was this height here. If it's still at the same height on this is now, this part here is here on this one. You gain that extra height. So you get more water fording capability. Very, very important. Where they position the components of the vehicle are important. The fact that this one, and on a Rubicon even, or on these Willys, things like this, the fact that we have much more simpler designs, simple monotube suspension. We do not have a lot of fittings. We do not have extra reservoirs. We do not have sensors in the suspension. We are not overrun with a ton of wheel sensors and all kinds of crazy things. And you have a few, but there's a lot simpler in design working on this vehicle that means a big difference for you, because mud is going to destroy all of that stuff. It's going to wreck electrical connections. It's going to be hard on your brakes. It's going to wear that stuff out. So these are big factors that you want to look at. The less complicated it is, the simpler and longer it's going to last for you off-road, the more it can handle. The front axle, solid front axle is very important and very nice. These all have solid front axles on a Jeep. Okay, sorry, I'm on a stick here, but that solid front axle is a nice asset. There's no doubt about it. Why? Because of the fact that it is super robust and tough. You hit things in a swamp that you don't know are there. You're rolling through an area that's been wet and rutted out and all that stuff, and all of a sudden you run face first right into a big old log that somebody stuck in there because they got stuck and they used it for traction, and now you smash right into it. Okay, things like this constantly. Somebody else came through there and they dug it out a rut, or the water had come through and washed it out, and now you're going in there and you hit a rut hole, you hit a root, and a rut comes in right here and knocks your wheel back so hard they'll snap your ball joints and your tie rods and everything on a lot of IFS trucks. Also, the weight of all the mud in your wheels and all the stuff you're fighting, and if you're running front lockers, they'll snap your CV joints like crazy if you start bouncing them around pretty good. Solid front axle is a very tough thing to have, a very good, strong, durable factor. These are what make these great. Now also, another nice thing is the approach angle. We don't care much about the departure because you can drag there, okay? Departure angle is this angle we're seeing right here. Okay, that angle from the bumper to the wheel, that is your departure angle. It's important, but not as important as the front. Okay, this is your approach angle from here to the front bumper. This clearance you have in the front is very, very important, again, because you're going to be dropping in and out of holes all the time. Creek crossings where you literally come down on your nose and then you need to be able to roll and come out of there. And it's stuff like that. Giving you that option is great. Look at here, the standard stock Rubicon. Look at our approach angle that we have on the front of this. Look at how nice that is and how high up that bumper is. And then look at here on a standard Ram pickup truck. Okay, look at what we got here. How you think that's gonna work? How good you think that's gonna do versus that? See what we're talking about? These are the things that matter. So, and it doesn't matter if it's a pickup truck or not. You look over here, swamp trucks and stuff, look at it, they got some lifted ones here. These are done well, they're lifted well. However, here's where some of the issues come in, okay? Now this is just a standard 1500. It's a great truck. It's lifted high, which is nice, gets the electrical stuff up, gives you more water fording capabilities. They did it well, except the downside are the tires they used. Okay, these tires are wide. They're not very tall. These are still like a 33. They're pretty little. I mean, are they 33? These are 35, 1250s. God, they look little on here. But you got so much rim and not a lot of sidewall on here. Not a lot of room to air down. Not a lot of setup there that you can mess with. You do get a lot of clearance in here, which is really nice. That's a good factor, but I would have much rather seen 37s than something skinnier and taller so you can get more out of these. These are, even though they're 35s, the engine can turn these over very well. Won't have a problem with it at all. But I promise you, if this thing had front lockers on it or you start bouncing this around pretty hardcore, you will start snapping those CV axles pretty dang easy with a loaded up muddy 35 on there. You'll start snapping stuff. All of this stuff matters, but they do it well. Like if you look at here too, we get, look at the on this Warlock on here. Look at the tires that come on this. People understand that somebody buying this truck like a Rebel, they're going to use it off-road. Look at the tires that come stock on a Warlock. It comes with a rear locker automatically. We got legit tow hooks on the front of it. Steel bumper on the front here too. Ready to go. Okay, look at here. On a standard Ram, street tires, no tow hooks. You see the differences in here. So, but it cracks me up like here, even this one, you take this truck, they should have bought one of these and did that lift and everything to this where it was valuable, being a Warlock with a rear locker. This does not have a rear locker. This is open differentials. It doesn't even have tow hooks. This is this truck just lifted up with a fancy hood scoop on it, okay? Same with this one. This is basic, this truck, all three of these that you see right here, they're all done up all fancy. They're these. Okay, not the E-Torque, but SST, but I mean, it's this truck. This is what it is. And then they just do the work to it. But this truck does not have the bones. It does not have the foundation that it needs. The Warlock, this one right here, as crazy as it's gonna sound, this truck right here, stock, right here, will go every place that this truck is gonna go and probably further. People won't believe me on that. They're gonna argue it, and more power to you. You argue it any way you want. Like I said, I spend my whole life is in the swamps now. I would take this all day long before I take this. This has got a rear locker in it. This has got the capability. This here, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it for me. It's just a street truck is what it is. This all day long. So kind of gives you a little thought, little insight into what makes a swamp truck a good truck, something capable out there. You need the traction. You need the water fording capability. You need it to be able to get through the mud and stuff. That's the other point I did not mention, okay? Look at the weight added onto these trucks, these three, okay? You take all of that weight with all these bigger wheels, these setups, the lifts, all the stuff, the components they put on them. You take all this truck right here that you have, all three of these, then you put all that weight. But remember, you only have 2 working wheels when you're in trouble. 2, one in the front, one in the rear. All this weight, 2 working wheels. Here, you have 3 working wheels, less weight, and same capabilities. And realistically, your actual ground clearance of your suspension components and your stuff under that on this one is being 35, that one being 33 is actually only a difference of 1 inch higher. So if we look at that, let's put it into perspective. We'll look at the rear axle. Okay, so if we look at the rear axle of this one, right here, let me get the camera so we can see. Rear axle of this one off the ground, right there. This is stock with 33-inch tires. That height difference is only 1 inch less than this big beast of a truck at the same place. Look at, why? Because we only have 1 inch difference of tire clearance. The only way to lift that axle and everything connected to it is by tire height. The lift of it does nothing but lift the body. All of your mechanicals can only be lifted by the height of the tire. This only has 2 inch taller tires, which mean 1 inch more of ground clearance right underneath that pumpkin right there than what this one has, with way less weight, way less problems, and a rear locking differential. Even in the front of these, if you look at the front of these, how they look, they're so high up and lifted so much, they had to smash everything back down. Again, you have to keep angles and geometry and things have to work. Remember, underneath this body is a whole framework with mechanicals and axles and everything that have to work a certain way. They lifted the body, but you can see here, in order to lift the body, they had to drop everything else back down. Look at that, it's a huge drop bracket. So they lifted it up 4 inches and kicked it back down 4 inches. Look at how low all those spindles are, the control arms and everything, no different than any other truck. So they lifted the body, but all this crap is still down there, hanging down there low, where it is. Can't get away from it. It's just the way it is. The only way to increase that stuff, increase tire height. 30, making this truck here, this beautiful Warlock, more capable than this big beast sitting next to it. And again, people will argue that. They will give me a fit. You can argue it all you want. Like I said, I'm out here doing this stuff every single day. You guys can argue it in the mall parking lot if you want to. So that's what makes a swamp truck in my opinion. Questions, comments, anything you got, put them down below. Thanks for watching.